Hello my friends, how are you doing? Today I'm going to show you how to do focus stacking in Affinity Photo to get from a shot like this to a beautiful result like this, and that is a lot easier than you might think. My name is Olivio, I'm a professional designer, and I want to thank all of my patrons who support me and make these videos possible. Also, for my Patreon supporters, there's again a bonus video on this topic linked below this video where I talk about additional tricks and other software tools to give you better results and also faster results. Okay, so the first thing we need to talk about here is how to take the photo, well, actually photos, because you need a lot of them. For example, for a blossom photo like this, you probably need between 30 and 60 shots, moving your focus point along the surface of your blossom. And this, of course, also means because you need so many photos, you can't photograph anything that is moving. So kind of forget about living insects, for example, but also don't just think about macro photos with focus stacking. Anything that has different focal points that can't be brought together in a single shot is good for focus stacking. So for example, sculptures, architecture, landscapes, or portraits, any kind of thing where the subject is staying still, but you need multiple shots, can be used for photo stacking. Now let's talk about how do you want to take these photos? How do you want to make the setup? For example, when you have a flower like this, you probably want to bring it indoors where it is protected from wind or other disturbances that might move the flower in between the shots. Also, of course, you need a tripod to keep your camera still, and I would highly suggest that you have artificial light. Either you have a flash or you use an artificial light like I have used here. It's one of my studio lights that I use for my YouTube videos to give you as much light as possible. This gives you the two benefits that you have a wider range of the apertures that you can use and at the same time keep the exposure time short, because even if it is on a tripod, you rather want to have shorter exposure times to get you sharper results. And another thing, when you set up the camera, this is the next point we want to talk about, camera setup. So what do you want to do here? First of all, if you do it manually, you want to set the lens into manual focus and then slightly move it along with the focus point. Now, how do you see where the camera is focused at the moment? In modern cameras, usually you have focus assist that you can turn on. And as you can see here, you get these lines that show you where exactly the focus is right now, and you want to set them to bright and also choose a color that is high contrast to the subject you're photographing so you can see them clearly. But also you want to keep in mind that just because you see these lines at these areas doesn't mean that all of that area is actually in focus. Just take the middle of the line, the slight middle part, and this is actually in focus, and the outer edges of these lines, they are going to be faded away. Now let's talk a little bit about the subject. If you have something that comes directly into the camera at a steep angle, then you have to keep in mind that the focus point is moving very fast in between small steps. So if you look at the blossom petals down here, they are pointing basically almost directly at the camera, which means that they are receding from the camera. They are getting a distance to the lens in a very short movement of your camera, a movement of your focus point. So you probably want to take more pictures for these steps just to be on the safe side, while when you have petals that are basically plain with the lens that is looking at it, so the petal is like this and the lens is coming directly at the petal, most of that petal should be in focus and you can do with less pictures there. But overall, I would suggest to just take as many pictures as possible. Now, another thing you want to keep in mind is that all of these pictures have to be in sequence. So if you have the feeling that you left out a part, don't just go back and make a photo of that and then go to the other direction, because this is probably going to confuse your software. Just try to have them in sequence and just move it slightly along the surface. Now, after you've done that, It is basically very simple what you do in Affinity Photo. Now here's two choices. If you have a rather slow computer, you probably want to use JPEG, although this gives you less editability afterwards because of course the range is not as big. But what you can do with the brightness, with the colors, all these kind of things, while when you have a raw photo, you get better results, but at the same time you need a strong computer to edit all these 30 to 60 pictures together into a focus merge. Here is what you do in Affinity Photo. You simply go up here to File and then to New Focus Merge and click on that and click here on Add, like so. And you can see here I have my pictures. In this case, I selected JPEGs just so the process is a little bit faster for our tutorial. So let's select all of them. You click on Open like that. And then it takes a little while. You can see they show up here. And you simply click on OK. There's not much more you can do in Affinity Photo. There's no sliders, there's no adjustments. There is also no additional alternative methods. It's just one thing you can do. So click on OK and let's see and wait what's happening here. All right, we are done. And as you can see, Affinity Photo is doing most of the work for you. It's lining up all of the pictures and then also comparing the different brightness and darknesses together so they match up and also stack the areas of your focus together so all of the parts are relatively sharp. Now I want to point out something here. If you look at my result that I'm getting, I'm using an old Nikon lens here with an adapter for a Sony camera, so the result isn't as crisp as I would like it to be, but this is the only macro lens I had in hand, so you probably get better results. Now on the side you get this window here that says sources, and these are your individual layers that you can still edit and adjust. Now here's the thing, if you close that window or it gets closed because you are clicking on other tools, the way to find that is to go up here to View and then to Studio and then to Sources, which is down here. And there you have it again. Now, sometimes it might look like this. It's completely empty. It only shows the sources when I go here to my clone brush. And you can do a really cool trick with the clone brush, but I will leave this to James Ritson to explain it to you. I have linked his video below. It's really cool. Check it out. He explained it amazingly. At this point, I also want to invite you to my live stream that is tomorrow, 19th September, 8 p.m. CST, where I will do a live composite edit in Affinity Photo. It's going to be really cool, and also will review the entries for my weekly challenge. See you there. So let's look at some adjustments you can do in Affinity Photo to make your image more beautiful. When you go down here in that area, you see live filters. That's little icon that looks like an hourglass. Click on that and you have 3 different options to sharpen your image. And you can also use all 3 of them at the same time if you want to. So let's do that. First of all, you have high pass, which is very nice, but you see only this kind of gray area. When you move the radius, what you get is this kind of strange preview. This is only the high pass areas of your image. So to make this actually sharpen your image, what you want to do is that you want to set the blend mode. By the way, you can see here when I move the radius up very high, I have these colors in here. I can undo them by clicking here on monochrome, and now everything is in black and white, only gray values. Now for the blend modes, you can actually use different blend modes, not just one. So you can see down here, I would suggest you play around, you try out overlay, soft light, hard light, and linear light to see what kind of results you're getting. So for example, you can see here that linear light gives different kind of colors than you would get with soft light, overlay, or hard light. So play around with that and see what kind of results you're getting here. So I'm going to use soft light with that, pushing that up pretty high actually. And next, like I said, we're going to stack these together. I will use live filter again down here for unsharpen. Here I'm going to set my radius to 1 pixel and I'm setting my factor also to 1. You don't want to get too extreme with this because you can get ugly halos around edges. You can also get sharpening fragmentation in your picture that gives you ugly effects. So don't overdo it, but you can still play around with the values. Another way to sharpen your picture and give it more detail is live filter down here for clarity, this one. And with this, again, don't overdo it, because it looks very nice. When you push it to 100%, you see all these details in the sharpness and you think that's nice. But the problem is that clarity can make the surface look sharp and like metal and pointy. And of course, you don't want to have this with a soft petal from a blossom. So rather go a little bit softer here and don't go too strong. Let's set this to 48% or maybe 50%. Just play around with that to see how that looks with your image. Another very cool thing you can do here is this kind of picture, for example, De-Haze. So go up here to filters and then haze removal, as it is called in Affinity Photo. It will analyze the scene a little bit. And then you can see, wow, that looks pretty cool. You can see here also for the overall picture, when we compare the before and after, we actually get some very nice colors and the background is brought more into the picture. So this can be very beneficial to your image. Play around with the distance, with the strengths, with the exposure correction, and then apply it when it fits to your taste. From here on out, you basically adjust everything as you would with the other picture, with contrast, brightness, with the curves, with the color adjustments, just as you do. But here is another thing, especially for macro photography, that you want to do, and this is to remove all these little hairs here and the dust and stuff like that, which are very hard to get rid of on the actual blossom because they are just so small, you often can't even see them with your eyes. So here's something I want to suggest to you when you do that. First of all, do the other adjustments first and do this last, because you will copy over all the colors, the contrast, the sharpness while you're doing that. So if you make changes afterwards, these parts will stick out. So do this last. Now, what I would suggest to you is you create an extra layer down here at pixel layer. This is what you want to do. Set it on top of everything and then go over here on the left side to your in painting brush tool. This is one of the ways to do it. In painting brush tool, set it to current layers and below up here. Current layers and below. That's important. And then simply go in here and you can click on these little specks. As you can see, they are getting magically removed from your image. Now here is one thing you want to look out for. If you have any kind of these strands that are going like here along an edge or over an edge, if you paint over that like this, what you might get here is that this might displace the edge. Actually, this time it worked. Let's try another one. Yeah, you can see here is a displacement of the edge, and this does not look good. Now, here are two ways on how to fix that. Either when you have the edge, just place your tool over the edge and click without moving it. You can see still it didn't 100% get that. So what you can do instead, if this doesn't work at all, if it doesn't give you a good result at all, is to use your clone brush tool. Again, select the clone brush tool, and then you want to go over here and select current layer and below. Again, that's very important. And then select your source here by holding Alt, for example, over here, like this. And then you can move your mouse over here and it gives you a live preview, and move it so this will exactly line up with the edge and it's not indented in any way. And then click, and this will be painted on that area, and then you have an edge that is not disturbed. Alright, that's it with my tutorial today. I hope you enjoyed it, and like I said, for my Patreon supporters, there's going to be an extra video with some bonus tips and tricks, a look at Nik Collection also, and other software tools to give you really cool results. Thank you very much for watching, and see you soon. Bye!